What if I told you that you don't need a mountain of discipline to change your life? I know, it sounds kind of crazy, but it's true. In this explainer, we're going to dig into a really powerful idea that flips our whole approach to building habits on its head. Come on, we've all been there, right? You get this huge burst of motivation, you map out these incredible plans to completely transform your life. You're going to work out, you're going to read every single day, you're going to master that new skill, and then, well, life happens. In this right here, this is the cycle of failure we all know, and, well, we don't love it. On the left, you've got the grand plan. And on the right, that's the reality for most of us. Complete burnout, a wave of guilt, and that classic promise, okay, for real, I'll start again next Monday. It's just exhausting, and it makes us feel like we're the problem. But what if we're not? And here it is, the big aha moment. It's not your willpower that's failing you. It's the system. It's the rigid, brittle, inflexible method that we try to force onto our messy, complicated, totally unpredictable lives. Your method is broken, not you. And once you really get that, oh man, everything changes. So, this brings us to the core concept we're talking about today. We have to completely rethink what a habit even is. Let's look at two totally different ways of seeing them. You know, most of us treat our habits like they're made of glass. They have to be perfect, totally flawless. But the second life puts on just a tiny bit of pressure. You know, a stressful day at work, a bad night's sleep, the whole thing just shatters into a million pieces. The workout gets skipped, the book doesn't get opened, and boom, we're right back at square one. But what's the alternative? Imagine for a second that your habits weren't like glass, but more like a rubber band. What if they could stretch out on the days you feel incredible and shrink down on the days you're just barely hanging on? That, my friends, is an elastic habit, a system that's actually designed for real life. Okay, so the idea of elastic habits sounds great, right? But how do we actually, do it? Well, there's a really simple, super practical framework that makes it all possible. This is the absolute game changer. For every single habit you want to build, you create 3 different versions. First, a small or minimum version that is so ridiculously easy you literally can't say no to it. Then, a medium version for a totally normal day. And finally, a large version for those awesome days when you're just full of energy. So, a 30-minute workout can become a simple 2-minute walk on a tough day. All of a sudden, you have choices. And this simple shift in how you see it is just so powerful. The habit is no longer this big battle you have to win every day. No, it's just a choice you get to make. You don't fail, you just adjust. You're always in the driver's seat. Now, this method does way more than just help you stick with a habit. It actually has this profound psychological effect that starts to change how you see yourself. I mean, think about it. It's the end of a long, totally draining day. The thought of a full workout? Impossible. But what about that tiny minimum version? A 2-minute walk. You can do that. And when you do it, you get a win. It might feel small, but that little win is unbelievably powerful. See, every single one of those tiny wins sends a signal to your brain that says, hey, I showed up. These little successes are like grease on the wheels of progress. They make it just a little bit easier to get going the next day and the day after that. Slowly but surely, you start building this momentum that becomes almost unstoppable. And then, eventually, something incredible starts to happen. All those small, consistent actions begin to change your identity. You stop seeing yourself as the person who always quits. Instead, you start telling yourself a new story. You start to believe, I am the person who doesn't give up. Your actions are literally rewriting your own beliefs about yourself. All right, let's talk about the single biggest enemy of building good habits, a mental trap that has probably wrecked your best intentions for years. It's this pursuit of perfection. That's the real enemy. It's that little voice in your head that says, well, if you can't do your full hour at the gym, then don't even bother going. This all or nothing thinking is exactly why one little slip up can make the entire thing come crashing down. So the whole key is to shift your goal away from perfection and toward presence. Instead of trying to have the perfect workout, just focus on being present, on just showing up, even if it's only for 1 single minute. This mindset doesn't wait for some magical, perfect day to start. It starts right now, it embraces being imperfect, and it values just being consistent more than anything else. So let's just quickly recap why this whole elastic approach is so effective. First, it gives you permission to be human, to have bad days without feeling like a total failure. It values showing up consistently way more than some intense, heroic effort every once in a while. It makes sure you never slide all the way back to zero. And maybe the best part? On a really tough day, doing your small version turns what used to be a moment of guilt into a real moment of pride.
So, as we wrap this up, it really all comes down to this one idea. Real change doesn't start on some mythical, perfect day way off in the future. It starts right now, with one tiny, imperfect step. So the real question isn't what you're going to do tomorrow, but what's your first small step today?